the 17th Annual Expedite Expo. We're going to have a little conversation this morning on the ABCs of Expediting Part 2. My name is John Mueller. I'm with the Transportation Station. And I'd like to introduce our panel over here. We have Tom and Tina Evans. They are fleet owners with Load 1. We also have Ed Estes, who's an owner-operator of a cargo van leased on to Bolt Express. Sprinter van. We'll clarify that. Sprinter van. There is a difference, folks. I'd like to start out this morning with a question for the panel. What is the optimum number of trucks to operate in your fleet to maintain the largest profit? And it was a topic you spoke about yesterday that I overheard. You said 2 trucks will kill you, 3 trucks is pretty good, but then we all know the magical number increases too. So if you could talk about those multiples for folks, at least with your experience, so that they understand or get a better feel for things.
It's still a difficult question. 1 truck will kill you if you're a fleet owner. If you want to become a fleet owner right off the bat, you cannot just buy one and hang on to it forever. At any point in time, 100% of your fleet's out of service or it's broke down. If you have 1 truck, that's 100% of your fleet. If it has a maintenance issue or the drivers are home, you've still got those payments, but the truck's down, not making any money. So it's always better to kind of get in, maybe go 90 days or 6 months and then get that second one. So when you go into it, keep in mind that, you're going to want to get to 2 pretty fast. That way you have a 50-50 opportunity of making money. 1 truck's down, you still got another one out there producing, because when they're home, you still got money coming out. You got to pay, make the truck payments, pay the insurance, and if they're not running, there's no income. So 2's, pretty integral to get to right off the bat if you're going to become a fleet owner. The more trucks you buy, of course, the better your odds are. 3, 30% of your fleet's down at one time. 4, 25%. 5, 20%. You rotate your drivers in and out in their home time, so you don't have any more than 1 driver home at a time, or at least at worst, they overlap on weekends. 1 driver may get home on a Friday, the other one may come back into service on Monday. They're overlapping Saturday and Sunday being off, 2 trucks down. So the more trucks, the better, I guess, is the scenario. But as far as the fleet size goes, I think it's all with the fleet owners to what they're comfortable with. What they're comfortable with managing on their own. There's another fleet owner here, really great guy by the name of A.C. Allen. He's not like me and Tina. He is a single man, and he has 10 trucks. He just expanded to like 12 or 13. And when he got to about 9 or so, he could not manage it himself anymore. And he actually hired a manager to manage part of his fleet. Us being together, we can handle the 6 that we have now. We could probably handle 10 on our own. We could probably handle 15 on our own. But fleet size is driven by what the fleet owner wants.
Tina?
And most people say that odd numbers work better than even numbers. You want to have 3, 5, 7. It kind of works better that way. But if you're going to be driving one of them and managing your fleet on the road, you should know it takes on a life of its own. And the management side of it, when your trucks are out on the road and there's an issue and you're in a vehicle and you're under a load, it can start taking valuable time out of your own time to haul loads and your sleep schedules, and it
we managed 5 trucks on the road, and we're still driving for 2 years. We were out there working, every day, and managed our fleet of 5 other trucks that we, quite a challenge.
Okay.
With us being on the road and having 5 trucks out there, we would, we'd deliver, and, generally Expediters, you deliver in the morning, you eat some breakfast, then you're back to the truck, and generally it's a nap. We call it expediter nap time. That's just kind of the joke. They'll deliver their freight, get some breakfast, do what they need to do, then 10, 11 o'clock, lay down and you take a nap through the middle part of the day, and because you're waiting and you want to be ready and rested if something happens. But we'd lay down and inevitably the phone would ring, and then once it starts ringing, it seems like it never quits. And she's trying to get a nap because she was always the nighttime driver. I was the daytime driver. I'm trying to lay there and rest also, just in case we've got to go. Ringing, and I'm trying to deal with drivers, or I'm trying to deal with the office breakdowns or whatever, and she's trying to sleep to be prepared if she's got to drive over.
Summarize, you're saying more than one truck, obviously.
Definitely.
And odd numbers. Thank you.
Seems to be funny, but it seems to work that way. I don't know why it is, but it does seem that the odd numbers seem to produce a little bit more. I guess it's the odds on the percentage of your fleet that's down at any portion in time. And even numbers always have an odd number always gives you a third extra. So I guess maybe that's why the math works better.
Okay. Let's ask a question to Ed here. Ed, you were pretty adamant about clarifying that as a Sprinter van over a cargo van. Can you tell the audience the differences between the two and why you feel a Sprinter offers more opportunities for you, I'm assuming, than a regular cargo van? Because they may not understand the differences.
Golly, I don't know.
Pardon me?
Golly, I don't know. The difference for us, we started out in a Chevy Express van, and we were using that for about a year, and then decided that we'd go to the Sprinter van, larger van. The cargo van will bring a smaller rate, for one thing, than the Sprinter. The Sprinter will hold more freight for you. For instance, our Sprinter is the largest made. It's extended bed, and we can get up to 4 pallets in that. We normally don't, because there's not a lot of calls for 4 pallets, and we use that extra room for luggage and personal items, golf clubs. And it's more comfortable when you have some downtime. A lot of folks in the business go to truck stops and hang out, and they sleep in their vans. They'll buy a generator, hook that up for TVs and air and so forth. In a Sprinter, we don't have a bed. We have an air mattress, and that allows us more room for freight and more weight for freight. And then we'll relax a little bit, go to a state park, and camp out. So the Sprinter allows us to take out the air mattress and have a little more standing room. And as far as your earnings go, you have a better chance with the Sprinter. A lot of customers request Sprinters, and of course they're going to cost a little more.
Ed, the differences between a Sprinter van or a Transit and regular cargo vans as far as load carrying capacity goes, what series Sprinter van do you have? Is it a 3/4 ton or a 1 ton? And what's your load carrying capacity as compared to your regular Chevy cargo van that you had?
The cargo vans will sometimes hold more weight than the Sprinters, but they don't, have the capacity for more room for your freight. So that's the biggest difference there. I think some of the cargo vans will hold up to 3,500 pounds, and you're trying to stay under 10,000 pounds. So, that's good. But again, a lot of customers request the Sprinter. It's easier to load, for one thing, and a lot of your forklift drivers will request a Sprinter themselves. It's easier to load and unload. I think we had a question over here.
We do. The question was the difference between sprinters and transit vans, and regular cargo vans when being loaded. Okay, why should people request sprinters?
Well, yeah, two pallets is probably on average, but of course there's always more. And again, it does go back, the customer requesting a Sprinter over a van because of the convenience of loading and unloading. And that means that the forklift driver doesn't have the time to do all that, whereas it's costing them more time to unload and load a cargo van than a Sprinter. Oh yeah, oh yeah. If the customer asks for a Sprinter, I see. It really doesn't make any difference.
That's just a general consensus in the industry now. Whether it's a Transit or ProMaster, they just refer to them as Sprinters. Because Sprinter was the first one out there, so.
Right.
Well,
Right.
they're wanting a specific size of vehicle. Also, many carriers request that your van carry 3 skids. You have to be able to get 3 skids in them at load 1.
The request part of it. The request part of it is mostly through the customer. Your load offer may come across and it may say, hey, you're in a Sprinter, you're going to go pick up 1 skid that weighs 1,500 pounds. You may get there and the customer may have changed their minds and they may have 4 skids, that are double stackable to go on a Sprinter. So they need that height. So therefore, they request a Sprinter. It's just like the same thing in a straight truck. They will call and they'll say, we need a 12,000 pound truck. They don't care what kind of truck you send them. It's got to be able to carry 12,000 pounds. You get there, the load may only be 500 pounds, but the customer calls and says, we need a 12,000 pound truck, or we need a 10,000 pound truck.
What's really interesting is
it's really strange the way they waste our money. I guess they pay us the money to do it, but in the consumer side of it, all the manufacturers really waste a lot of our money and cost us a lot of money when we buy stuff.
I'm going to bring up
So,
a unique circumstance that used to happen. The Ford plant in Indianapolis, I think it was, by their union bylaws, only allowed dock high trucks in. So if they called our company and needed an envelope transported, we had to send a dock high straight truck in there to pick it up.
yeah, that happens all the time.
And as the carrier, we don't care what they request. It's more money
And
for us.
the industry really is kind of phasing out quote
The
unquote
waste.
cargo vans. They really are. Most of the carriers, there's a lot of carriers out there these days that will not sign on just a straight cargo van. No, you absolutely cannot.
No. And even if it is that envelope, it needs to be in the box of your vehicle because that's where your cargo insurance covers it. It doesn't cover it in your sleeper or your cab. So if you have to scotch tape that envelope to the sidewall of your truck, that's where it goes, because that's where the insurance covers it.
Not necessarily, no, because no company's going to sign you on.
Right.
In a vehicle, you know, if you're going to haul it commercially, it's got to be, you know, labeled, DOT numbered, and the whole 9 yards. So,
and it also has to be listed on the company's
has
insurance
to be listed on the company's
for the primary
insurance
coverage and things.
Yeah. So no, and the company's one of these carriers out here that you're seeing at this show is not going to sign a car on. Huh? Well, no, CIS is not a carrier. They're just an insurance.
They're just the insurance company. No, they won't do a car.
I guess we're...
CIS is not a trucking company. They're
no, CIS is not a trucking company. They just are an insurance company. The car will not be insured.
While working for a motor carrier.
Freight.
Or DOT or on your car and
right, you could do that with your own authority. Sure, you could insure your. Yeah. Yeah, you could. You know, if you've got your own authority, you could. But a carrier that most of us lease to would never let you sign just your car.
It's a good question to ask John or Shelley there at CIS. I might add to that, a customer will request a Sprinter, a cargo van or a Sprinter van, either one, and they'll give you the measurements of the load. So you know, but before the dispatcher gives you the order, a lot of times they give the measurements of the product, but they don't include the measurements, including the packing, such as a pallet and so forth. So that's another reason it's just a backup.
Question in the back. Which puts it over.
And that's a huge issue in the industry right now with the Sprinters, and even the little box trucks, the small, box trucks. We see that all the time. It's a huge topic of discussion everywhere. We hear people saying, "Oh, well, I put 4,500 pounds on my Sprinter," and it's because there's really no regulation. The only regulation with the Sprinters, as far as that goes, is the chance that you might get caught if they see you sagging in the butt, running down the road like this, or you policing yourself. And there are a lot of Sprinter drivers out there that will not police themselves. They'll put whatever kind of freight or weight on that Sprinter they want to put on there, and they don't care if they're overloaded or not. It makes no difference to them, and that has become a huge liability for the industry over the recent years since the Sprinter invention. Is a lot of people out there overloading the small box trucks and overloading the Sprinters, greatly overloading the Sprinters. It is, and it's dangerous, very dangerous. Yeah. Well, I'm very glad to hear that you are policing yourself. That's great.
I wanted to talk a little bit about that too, because so many folks don't really truly understand GVW and load carrying capacity. To help you understand, and I'm going to extend this out into some exposure to liability after I get done talking about it. The GVWR sticker inside your door tells you what the gross vehicle weight rating is, and that is the weight of the vehicle with any load on it. And when you're talking about a Sprinter van, they're trying to keep it under 10,000 pounds, or even a regular cargo van, so it's exempt from the hours of service regulations and logging. Okay, so now you buy this van, and you should go out and put it on a scale after you have it equipped with all your personal belongings in it, full of fuel, and setting your body inside of it, so that you truly know what that vehicle weighs when it's quote unquote empty before you put a load on it. Take the GVWR, subtract out what your scale ticket says, and that's how much you can basically haul with it. Now I want to talk about exposure to liability. Some carriers don't police their vans good enough. Joe, owner-operator, comes in and says, well, I'm going to haul 4,000 pounds in my Sprinter. John Mueller says, no, you're going to bring me a weight slip in. We're going to look at the GVWR on your ticket, on your door, and we're going to subtract it out, and that's what my company is going to allow you to haul in this. And if Joe says, no, I'm going to haul 4,000 pounds, then I tell Joe that I'm not going to use his services or whatever. And why is that? Because if Joe has an accident, he's got 4,000 pounds on it, and the savvy plaintiff's bar attorney comes up and sees that he's overweight, guess what? Now we're negligent, okay? Insurance does never pay punitive damages, which are awarded for negligence. So now, just because Joe wanted to haul 4,000 pounds, my insurance is paying out a huge claim, and then on top of it, me personally can be sued for his actions, and Joe himself can be sued. And I always hate to sound like the worst case scenario, but folks, that's reality. You have to do what's right. So that's my outlook on things. Don't overweight yourself, because you could lose everything that you work for in the case of an accident. What's the probability of it happening? Maybe small, but you know what? You heard it, you know what you should be doing, and now if you have that accident, you look back and say, man, I wished I would have listened, So, anybody else have any other questions that are on their mind right now? Sir? In a Sprinter van, does the DOT pull you over very much?
We've never been pulled over in 6 years. Right.
If the company that you were hauling for transported placardable quantities of hazmat, you had a placard on the outside of your Sprinter van, then I could see you getting pulled over for roadside inspections.
Or like Tom says, your back end is your back end sagging.
Hugely. Another consideration on being overloaded that we didn't even discuss is the wear and tear on your vehicle. And you're paying, nobody's paying you extra to haul that. So
we had an opportunity once to pick up in Illinois, and the load was 200 pounds. It was going to our home base. So, man, we're going to get over there and pick up and be heading home after we make our drop. It's 200 pounds over. And I asked the customer if they would weigh it, and compare it against the bill of lading. And sure enough, if they had the right weight, it was 200 pounds over. Had to refuse it. I'm not going to jeopardize my life or anyone else's life knowing that it's wrong.
That's the right thing, Ed, for sure.
It's very important in this industry to do the right thing.
It is.
A lot of people still don't understand that, but it's very important to always do the right thing. It's
Address. That's right.
And that happens a bunch. We see that a lot in straight trucks, and it's not such a huge deal there. It's always been a huge deal to us, but it's not really a huge deal with the customers or the carriers. They'll call us in for 2 skids. We get there, and it 2 skids has now grown to 4. Well, now if it's a huge variance like that, that's a little different. But if it's an extra skid or 2, they don't generally, say too much. About it being an extra skid or 2. Now, like she said, if we get there and it was supposed to be 2 skids, we get there and they say, oh yeah, we got 10 for you. Well, then we call the carrier and we say, hey, we're here, and they're now telling us we've got, 10 skids at 8,000 pounds versus 2 skids at 2,000 pounds. And then they'll call back and they'll say, hey, what's going on here? This is what you called in for. Now we've got 5 times the freight, and they'll do an adjustment in a rate, or they'll do adjustment in charges. But for a variance of a skid or 2, most of the time in the straight trucks, they really don't squabble too much about that. But not necessarily. I mean, it might have. The carrier may have said, hey, you called for 2 skids, we've got 3,
I think that you should always look at the bill of lading and check it and verify with the dispatch the number of pieces, the weight, and the description of the goods. And that bill of lading is the ultimate piece of paper that legally describes that load. So if something does change, I'd rather tell you to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
And load one probably trusts Tom because he's been doing this for so long. You build a relationship with the drivers and you get to know who can handle things and who can't. But for safety's sake and for just doing things the right way, always call dispatch if there's a change in the number of pieces.
And they always know anyways. I mean, even with us, they always know.
Because you're going to call in.
You call it in. You input your freight on the Qualcomm to let them know you've done your pickup.
Yeah.
We have a everybody runs Qualcomms now. So there's a pickup sheet on the Qualcomm that you fill out. It tells how many pieces you've loaded, which also helps because the Qualcomm in essence can kind of be a contractual obligation.
Yeah,
documents everything you're doing, so it's there. They know, immediately. I mean, we have had instances where we have loaded freight supposed to be 3 pieces, and when we've loaded it and put the information in on the Qualcomm, it was really 4. The bill of lading shows 4, but the customer said 3. We'll get a phone call, just from dispatch. Wait a minute, you've got 4 on instead of 3? Well, yeah. Okay, well, let me call our customer and make sure that that's okay. They'll confer with the customer at the other end. Hey, they're shipping 4 instead of 3. Is that okay? And then they'll call back and they'll say, yeah, you're good to go. It's fine.
I think it's so important that everything matches what's on that bill of lading.
Oh yeah, I don't want laugh right there, boy. It's
Likewise, like when you deliver to the consignee and you have them sign the bill of lading, right? Or your delivery receipt saying that they've received it in good order. Everything being perfect on there helps you avoid any cargo claims. And that's another reason carriers keep escrow too on you. You could lose your escrow over something being wrong if a cargo claim evolves over something like that. So that bill of lading is so important to be accurate. It really is. Any other questions going on? One other thing that I wanted Tom and Tina to extrapolate on a little bit, if they would, and Ed, is maintenance funds again. Yesterday, Tom and Tina talked about what they set aside for maintenance, and I think they've been exceptionally lucky with their track record with their trucks. And I brought up before we started today with Tina, what I've seen with a number of contractors over the years having bad luck with maintenance. So I think that they were a little bit light on what or let's even talk about Ed. What do you keep aside for maintenance and unexpected repairs, and why is it so important? Because so many people come into the industry and they're really underfunding their business. They don't have enough money set aside to encounter the things that come up.
Well, that's one of the most important things when you get into business, is to have that capital for those type of responsibilities, because it is a responsibility to have your preventive maintenance on a schedule, and that's what we do. We have a schedule. We're rotating and balancing the tires properly, changing the oil, fuel filter, belts, the fluids, etc. And we have a log sheet that we keep. It's time to take it in and have that maintenance done. But again, back to the question of having the backup to pay for it, you got to set it aside. We count on 50% expenses for operations, 50%. So you can count on that 50% out of your revenue, and then you'll have your take-home pay from that.
Talk about how much money that you keep in, say, an escrow fund of your own, a maintenance fund for your van. You may be financially solvent, you probably are, but if you were starting out, how much would you put in a bank account just for your maintenance for potential breakdowns?
Well, that depends on the age of your vehicle, for one thing.
And if it has a warranty or not.
Does it have a warranty? If it came right out of the lot, brand new, you're not going to have those expenses for a little while. If you're taking a chance on buying a used vehicle, I would suggest, a van type vehicle, I would have $1,000 at least set back for that.
Bare bones minimum.
But the thing is, it could cost you more.
Exactly.
Depending on what it is.
That's where I was going, because so many people want to go out and buy the 7-year-old cargo van or the 7-year-old straight truck. And that's what I'm talking about. People coming into the industry that don't want to lay out a big expense up front. They want to get into the industry. They buy an older used vehicle, and they have no clue of what could pop up. So, I think $1,000 might be light on a cargo van, actually.
Yeah.
And that's where my question was going. What do you feel if you were coming into this industry and you were buying your first truck, and we all know so many people scrape up enough money to put down on the truck, and that's all they have because the carrier is going to give them a fuel card, and they feel like the carrier is going to give them a cash advance on their loads, but the carrier's not there to fund the maintenance on your vehicle too, and that's kind of where I'm going. How much do you set aside for a cargo van, and how much should you really set aside for a
it's
truck?
important because your success in this business depends on dependability. if you're breaking down, believe me, you're not going to be called for loads. So you need that backup. We started out in the express cargo van at $3,000. It's what we had set aside, and that worked out for us. Uh, you're taking a big chance if you don't have the capital when you get in this business, because if you can't be dependable, if you're breaking down, you're not going to make it.
General consensus with the large trucks has trickled down to the small trucks too, in straight trucks from tractor trailers. It's a consensus of a cent per mile, and we were always somewhere between 3 and 5 cents per mile is what we used as a magic number. Every mile that truck, if it runs 2,000 miles that week, 3 to 5 cents a mile for that 2,000 miles is what should come out of that pay period, be put in the bank towards a maintenance fund, and you just let it grow. Just keep it there and let it grow. You don't use it, it's there. If you need it, it's there.
And that cent per mile figure has gone up as costs have increased a little bit. That's probably low now. But that, for those of you that were here yesterday, I said set up a business account, set up a personal account, figure out what your budget is to fund to everything at your home. Let that be your paycheck. Then everything else goes into your business, and it doesn't mean you can't spend the money, because you're going to spend it. But what's in your business account is always there, and you just let it keep growing until you have, say, $5,000-$10,000.
Even after that, you just let it keep growing.
Leave
There's
it there.
never a reason to get rid of that money in your business account.
You
that
just
is for
want to
operation.
keep it there, because it's not going to be if, it's going to be when something happens. We had a truck that was just a few thousand miles out of its warranty when something went haywire in the front end. It cost us $5,000. So, did we feel like it was some kind of a factory defect? Yes. Sure. But it still cost us $5,000 to get it out of the corral.
But would they warranty a vehicle that was, 1,000 miles out of warranty? It was 1,000 miles over its 150,000 mile warranty cap. It was just a shade over a year old. I paid $135,000 for it, brand new, and 1,000 miles over the warranty. We had to put an entire new front end underneath the truck, and they would not warranty it. So
keep in mind, they're talking about straight trucks. Okay, if you're going into the Sprinter or cargo van business, you don't need $10,000 to get in the business.
Tina, can you talk real briefly, and Tom, about your one prize truck that you had and the expenses as it compared to your whole other fleet, so they get a feel for it? Because this is what I'm talking about right here.
Yeah, we started out with our one used truck, and then we added our second one very quickly, and then our third one.
And the second and the third were sister trucks. They were both purchased at the same time by the person that we bought them from.
And we purchased them together. They were both Sterlings with cap motors, and one of them we still have. It's doing just fine. Year before last, the actually nicest one of the two, with the fanciest sleeper and all of that, its maintenance bill alone year before was equal to our entire fleet's maintenance this year, and we sold it. And
what was that dollar amount, Tina?
The rest of the fleet's $27,000 for that one, and the rest of the fleet's maintenance for the entire year was $20,000.
Now you see why I kept drilling into them on this issue, because it could happen to you. You could have bought that one Sterling.
Someone bought it.
God bless them.
you can never have enough. You can never have enough. You know, there's no reason to ever get rid. Like you said, she's pretty.
Leave it in the bank.
Just leave it in the bank. Don't set aside X amount. Pay yourself, and then everything else goes into the business. You know, you just. Yeah, hindsight's always 20/20, but you know, yeah, you are right though. More is always better. I mean, always expect more.
And that does touch on a good point, though. Do your research on vehicles, because certain year models of Sprinters or certain year model of Transits all had their own little quirks. That year and was a particular issue, some of those. And just like with straight trucks, there were problematic years with all the new EPA standards. And they you. And so it is what it is.
You know, but we have a funny saying that everybody, you know, says when you're an expediter, and that is, everybody learns. You know, once you become an expediter, there's a learning curve, and the learning curve always takes a trip through your wallet.
Yeah, it does.
Believe me, it always does.
You will learn.
I can put it.
It can be, and then again, it can't. I mean, sometimes you can have you could have 6 months worth of a truck that is just problematic for 6 months ongoing, and then you finally get to the end of it, and from that point forwards, there's no more issues. Certain things are going to go bad, and if they're going to continue to go bad, or if you finally get to the end of it and you get them all fixed.
Or you're ready to upgrade anyway, so you figure out which vehicle in your fleet has been your problem child, and you'll know because you're taking all the phone calls, and that's the one you trade in or sell and purchase your next vehicle. You know, you figure out who the problem child is and let it go.
I mean, we've had a few that we've dumped, $4 or $5 grand into in a couple of months, and then for the next year and a half, 2 years, we haven't had to spend a dime on them other than just standard maintenance.
Was your question in regards to maintenance as a percentage as opposed to a cent per mile?
What percentage, when we're dumping a lot of money into trucks, what is our tolerance percentage, I guess, is basically what he was kind of getting at.
I thought the
for
question was
cutting bait and running with the truck. Once it hits a certain percentage, when are we done with it? So,
okay.
$24,000, we were done with it. So, it just never went away. And like she says, there are, you'll start seeing quote unquote problem child.
And some of it wasn't about the money. It's more about the aggravation and your tow trucks and shops and hotels and phone calls. And then it starts costing because that truck's losing loads, or
as long as they're still making money.
Get rid of it.
It doesn't bother me. I don't care to have a truck in the shop and fix it. That's all part of the business. You're going to have to fix stuff. You don't want to. Hopefully we don't have to. Hopefully everything runs well for a long time. But you're going to have to fix stuff. But as long as I can still make money on that truck, even if I am paying the bills, and even at 20, like I said, 27,000 in that 1 year in that one truck, I still made money on that truck. But it was just, it became, like you said, problematic and just too much to deal with. Too much for us, too much aggravation for the driver. And, it prompted us to get rid of it, even though the truck was still profitable and even though the driver still made money. We spent a lot of money on it, but we still made a profit on the truck, and that's fine.
Folks, we're pretty much out of time. There's another session coming in here. So I'd like to wrap this up. And if I could, round of applause for our panel here for answering some questions. Thank you for attending and enjoy the rest of your day here at the Expo.
And if we didn't touch on anything, feel free, stop by the Load One booth and holler at us. We'll be there if anybody wants to, talk about anything any further. That's fine.
Thank you for attending, folks.